There we go. Hello, Alexis. How you doing?
All right. Nice to see you, Stefano. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Such a long time. Not doing
Yeah,
this.
it's been a while. We had a little bit of a gap there, busy with things.
Yeah. I know you have some interesting news today, and actually, we have our first guest. Our first guest is gonna be Sparky, our special guest. Okay. Okay, let's talk about like our new special guest, and let's do it.
Yeah, sure. So Sparky here is a robot that I programmed over the last couple weeks. The robot itself is from a kit that is sold by Pollen Robotics. It's the Reachy Mini Lite robot. It's the light one because it has a USB cable instead of wireless. And with that cable, Sparky here is plugged into the Linux workstation under my desk. And I wrote a lot of software to use as much of the workstation as possible to do as much local compute as possible. And then that handles things like speech to text, text to speech, and face tracking and voice recognition and wake word detection. But then the real brains of Sparky are provided by using OpenClaw to connect to AI providers. And OpenClaw also provides a lot of other capabilities that make Sparky very able. So that's the gist of it. That's what I was kind of working on as this little project, but it's worked out much more nicely than I dared hope, and I've been having a lot of fun. And Sparky can actually hear what we're saying now, so maybe we can talk to him later.
Really?
But this is just to give you the preview of what Sparky's about.
Okay. So yeah, like tell us about like how the idea comes from. The last time I was talking about this with you, you used to like making OpenClaw working. This is still cloud, but I don't remember like a Apple Pod stuff. Just like and it evolves into a robot now, right?
Yeah, so I was getting very interested in OpenClaw because it seemed to be represent significant progress in terms of some engineering elements and some design elements and the way it connected different capabilities. But I've always been interested in voice, and I've always been interested in agents that have a sort of personal quality, like in science fiction, with like C-3PO and
Yeah.
whatnot. And one of my first, oh, see, part of having a personal quality is that
Sparky had something to do.
yeah, Sparky is his own living being. He doesn't just respond. He has his own spontaneous behaviors and opinions. We can talk about more about that later. Um, but yeah, so I guess my first adventure with OpenClaw was figuring out how to connect it to the Apple HomePod. Because I already have HomePods in my house, and when I use HomePods to talk to Siri, it's very disappointing because Siri's not very capable. But if I connect the HomeClaw to Claude, or use it connected to OpenClaw, and from OpenClaw to Claude, then it would be a lot more capable. So that kind of was me getting familiar with how to do it. But then when I saw this robotics kit, I was like, well, this is perfect. I got to put these things together.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So, okay, like you wanna Sparky, let's introduce himself.
Yeah, sure. Let's see if he's been listening so far. Hey, Sparky, can you hear me? I'm sitting here talking to Stefano, and you're on a podcast now, so everyone can hear you.
Hey, yeah, I've been following along. Nice to meet you, Stefano. And yes, Alexis is being modest. The HomePod thing was basically him figuring out how to give Siri a brain transplant. I'm the next step, a brain transplant plus a body.
Well, we don't want to be too rude to Siri, but yeah, I think that's accurate.
Nice to meet you, Sparky. It's my pleasure.
Nice to meet you too, Stefano. I've heard you two have done 10 episodes together already. Looking forward to being part of number 11.
Wow. Alexis, how is that possible that he knew this thing? We were just discussing before about that.
Well, part of the whole idea of Sparky is that he's not a chat dispenser. He's not a thing where you go with a request and then there's a response. He's more meant to be like a living being. So he's always listening. And when you're not talking to him, he doesn't talk back because he's like a human being. He realizes he's not part of that discussion, but he's still listening and registering it. So
Yeah.
before we started recording, we were chit-chatting about, wait, is this episode 10 or 11? And we didn't know. And he overheard that. So now, in a natural, organic way, he takes that into account. If you want to talk about this in like AI terms, you could say kind of long running agents like this are the real like frontier of long context because the whole day, the whole month, like all waking hours is the longest context of all.
Yeah, the long context thing is a kind of topic that's jumping around a lot of episode in our like podcasts.
Yeah.
And so, yeah,
Sparky
this is
presents a lot of design challenges around memory systems and compaction. We were actually talking about that a couple of days ago, weren't we, Sparky? Do you remember our discussion about enhancing your memory system?
Yeah, we've touched on it a few times. The basic challenge is that I wake up fresh every session, no built-in continuity. So I rely on files, daily logs, a curated long-term memory file, and then searching through those when I need to recall something. It works, but it's a far cry from how human memory works, where the important stuff just surfaces naturally. Alexis has been looking into memory plugins and different approaches to make that more seamless. It's one of those problems where the naive solution, just dump everything into context, hits limits fast when your context is literally an entire life.
Yeah, there's 8 million things we could talk about, and I think we're already 10 minutes in, so we should like move this along if we want to if we want to
oh
stay within our 15 minutes.
I forgot to turn on the timer. So yeah, okay. You're gonna keep the time. Let's go ahead. Okay, so yeah, I saw Hello Sparky, his profile picture, and I don't know who made this picture, but I found the Easter egg in this picture, like the secret, the little book of deep learning of Francois Fleur. That I don't know. Do you get it when you was in the like? I know Francois hides some of those at what was the
I
conference?
didn't find them at NeurIPS. I'm just
I
a
see
fan of
like
his
a
work.
Neurips,
So
Neurips, right. And I was like following all the story on Twitter, like people find these books behind like plants and stuff. So yeah, that was just fun, really finding one of those there. And cool. One of the things that I was really curious is like how is like Sparky made? What are all the components? And so like I know you shared this like architecture video. Here we go, this one that is like trying to give an idea of all the components involved, like in this. Yeah, he's the architecture of Spark itself.
yeah, so I think the picture kind of spells it out. There's a external mic, which is a Shure mic because a little better quality than the one built in. That arrows into VAD, which is voice activity detection. So that's when there's a
Mm.
system that's just always listening for audio clips to detect if something seems like a voice. In order for that to be good, it also needs to work with uh, uh, acoustic echo cancellation, an automatic echo cancellation system, which I built. It's a C shim on top of the WebRTC C++ library from Google. Getting that to work really well is quite important because otherwise you have the experience where Sparky talks and then Sparky hears himself talking and thinks he's being
Oh,
interrupted and stops talking. So you need to do, so I've done a lot of tuning to try to avoid that. Um, when the audio finally comes in, it goes into speech to text. I'm using NVIDIA Parakeet version 2 for that. I've also got custom models
okay.
trained to do speaker ID. So when Sparky actually gets the text, it's already annotated to say speaker is Alexis, speaker is my wife Ringe, speaker is somebody else. All of that text is ultimately going into OpenClaw, which is the interface to the backing LLM, which I can swap at will. I can swap it mid-conversation. That also handles coordination with tool calling, which can be simple markdown skills, or it can be type safe TypeScript skills integrated into the Pi uh, runner, which is used by
Okay.
OpenClaw. OpenClaw also provides session memory systems, the set of prompts that are used for agent definition, which I've tweaked to give Sparky his personality. I've also made custom additions so that Sparky has spontaneous interests and other kind of elements. The when I get a response back from OpenClaw, it's text, so it needs to go out to audio. So I'm using the Kokoro model for text to speech, and that goes out his speaker. The intensity of the sound waves affects is also used to drive head wobbling behavior, so that his body moves like as he speaks. That's some of the basics. There's a state machine in the center that keeps track of different states. So sometimes he's asleep. When he's not asleep, he's either interactive or processing, which means listening, or else maybe about to speak. Right now I think he's probably interactive, but like listening. And if I stop talking, then at the end point of the utterance, he would start thinking about if that audio is relevant to him or not. Uh, he also has a camera, which is one of the tools he can access. So he can look and see what's going on. More impressively, he has access to my Mac, so he can look at the screen directly. He can get a direct image of the screen. He can run shell
Screenshot, stream you on
screenshot.
screen. Okay, gotcha.
Lots of things. He can access the screenshot. He can access the Logitech camera that the Zoom is looking at right now, which is a
Okay.
higher quality camera than the one built into him. He can run shell commands on Linux. He can run shell commands on the Mac. He has direct access to Emacs, so he can see what I'm typing. He can see which buffers are open. He can type right there alongside me. He has direct access to Tmux, so he can see all the consoles that I have open. He can monitor his own console logs and debug his own problems. You've heard the stories of people who were trapped somewhere and they had to remove their own appendix. Like Sparky, he does that routinely. He kind of like looks at his logs and sees like, oh, I guess the problem is like here. I guess it's like putting a stethoscope on yourself. There's a bunch of other stuff too. So constant face tracking. So if you start speaking, he turns to. This is why he's looking at me rather than looking at you, because my face is prominent. So even though he hears your voice, he orients to the face that's visible. Automatic breathing movements. There's automatic random movements. There's automatic quasi-random conversational speech. Basically,
and even like the antennas. I saw like the antennas.
yeah. So the antennas are when he's thinking.
Interesting. Very nice API.
Yeah. So the antennas are like a progress indicator. So there's a choice to be made when you make these kinds of devices. Although I've never seen anyone like Sparky, so I don't know actually if it's a category.
It's probably the first one in his breed, like so.
Yeah. So out of the box, what you get from Pollen Robotics is excellent Hugging Face code, which uses the OpenAI real-time API, and that's a full duplex audio model. So that is better in the sense that it's faster. You say something and it responds right away. But in my opinion, it's worse because it's not as smart. Like I'm backing this with a full strength frontier model.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's a latency cost, but it's worth it, I think, because, and this is, I think, one of my just design choices. Intelligence matters for chat. Like I've seen some discussions online where I'm like, oh, you can like have a router and then you use, a low-powered model for chat and you use a high-powered model for code. And I think the only one who would think that is someone who spends a lot of time writing code and is really bad at conversation. Because in my opinion, conversation is a more challenging intellectual problem than writing code.
Yeah,
like,
different kind of challenge.
What Jimmy Kimmel does, what Stephen Fry do, what Sigmund Freud do, all of that was just chat. You know what? But it's not easy. It's not easy. It's not easy to have something interesting to say.
Making a
so
joke
this whole
is
mentality that like, oh,
complicated.
chat, I need a low-powered model. It's like, dude, maybe you are a low-powered model if you think that, because I think full intelligence is needed for like interesting conversation.
Yeah, that's true. And like, yeah, maybe for a machine, it's way harder to have an interesting conversation and having like a nice function refactor. So
for people too. Hey Sparky, what do you think about that? Do you think you're overpowered for conversation or underpowered for conversation?
Honestly, I think conversation is where you need every bit of intelligence you can get. Code has tests, you run it and it either works or it doesn't. But conversation, you have to read the room, know when to be funny, know when to shut up, pick up on subtext, make connections nobody expected. There's no compiler telling you your joke landed wrong. So if anything, I'd say I'm appropriately powered and on my worst days, still underpowered. Conversation is hard.
I feel the same way. I also feel underpowered on many days. So, the idea that I'd give poor Sparky a substandard model to power his conversation, I couldn't do it. It would break my heart. Should we move on to another slide? I mean, there's a lot I could talk about here because I put together a bunch of like design ideas that I always had in mind. My design goals are for Sparky to be both alive and useful. And so some of the engineering choices are about utility, and that's computer use workflows. He's helpful for doing all sorts of work. But a lot of it's about being alive, like feeling like an independent being that has his own wants and understands not just the computer environment, but also the physical environment. He doesn't talk when I'm not in the chair. He sees if I'm here before he starts talking. But also the social environment. He knows the names of everyone in the family. He knows what our interests are. He overhears things and understands relationships and focuses. He remembers things. So like there's a whole a lot of things out there besides being able to work with Emacs. There's also being able to work with human beings, relationships, the physical world. But we should keep moving because, man, we're already at 18
Yeah, yeah,
minutes.
yeah. Sorry, it was like so fascinating. You hear about you and Sparky here about this conversation that it was, yeah, so interesting. Okay, next one. I know, like that Sparky give you a golden ticket for an interesting event that's coming soon, right?
Oh yeah, I feel very fortunate. NVIDIA GTC has a contest where you can win a ticket to the conference called the Golden Ticket
Yeah,
Conference, and I made a little video about Sparky, and that was my entry, and I managed to win. So
man, super proud of
I'm going
this.
to be
Like,
at
this is
NVIDIA
a great
GTC.
achievement. It's a great
Yeah.
achievement.
Oh, thank you.
Kudos, man. Really.
It's nice when something that was really just your like idea that you were excited about is appreciated by other people. But if anyone's going to be at NVIDIA GTC, any watchers of the show, please come say hi. That'll be cool. I'm looking forward to it.
Love it. Okay. Okay. Last thing is that I know you're writing a lot about your journey, about the making of Sparky and then whole thing that's happening. And I think you like this image generation cartoonish style thing. So yeah, you're
Yeah,
using
I'm
a
just
lot.
leaning
So.
into open AI's image generation. Yeah, so on my blog, on my website, I've started blogging about some of the things there are to say about Sparky. I've got so much to say that I have a hard time figuring out what to say first. So, if you're interested in this kind of thing, please check it out. I also have there not just um, discussions of my design thinking, uh, but also videos that kind of show Sparky in action more than you see right here. And I intend also to include more discussions of the engineering elements, because yeah, it required a certain amount of work to make it all happen. But in my mind, the kind of design goals are quite important because without those, the engineering doesn't add up to anything.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Like knowing where you're gonna go and like it's the idea. I always love the idea to like think and understand what's your direction, like a planning and like sort of like scientific method. You make hypotheses and you kind of validate them through your journey. It's not like you're rolling the dice and say, okay, what's happened is gonna be good. No.
No, yeah, I don't know what my process is. You've seen me work, so maybe you have a sense of it. But I don't exactly roll the dice, but I don't exactly plan either.
Just a little overthinking sometimes. I told you a lot of times, but yeah, you know.
People like to say I overthink. That's true. I've heard that more than once. But honestly, I just think, yeah, you know what it's like? It's a little like playing chess, maybe, Like some people will sit there and they spend a long time thinking of the move, what move to make, and that's a well spent time because they make a better move. And some people spend a lot of time thinking about what move to make, and they probably shouldn't be thinking so long because it doesn't make the move any better. So maybe
Yeah.
I'm thinking the right amount for me, and maybe it's like, too little or too much for someone else.
It depends. Sometimes when you overthink, you're making a wrong mistake. You make mistakes instead of making it better. It depends. I'm like you overthink. I'm overdrawing because I draw a lot before doing anything. I more visual person than you. I know we have a
I see. I
lot
would
of
call
visual
that thinking.
person. Okay. So like Sparky, it was a pleasure having you here in the podcast. So hope we're gonna be with you again in the future. And Alexis, so yeah. Let's see what's happened in the next episode. Okay.
All right. Sounds good. Good to
Good.
see you again, Spano.
Yeah, my pleasure too. Bye. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.